God did not bring you here by accident. I am George, your spiritual mentor. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a message. There comes a moment in the lives of certain people when everything around them seems normal, but inside, something begins to stir. It is not noise. It is not despair. It is more like a quiet pressure in the chest, a certainty still without shape, telling you that what you are living today is no longer enough for who you are becoming. Perhaps you have already felt this. That sensation of being in the right place, doing everything right, yet still feeling that something essential is missing. As if the life you built with so much effort were merely the rough draft of a story that still needs to be written for real. This video is about that. About the moments when the Creator sets something in motion that cannot be ignored. When God decides that the time has come to move someone into a new territory, He does not send a formal warning. He plants a restlessness. He lights a flame where there was once conformity. And that flame does not go out with distraction. It is not resolved by a promotion at work, a vacation, or a new purchase. It only settles when you take the first step toward what was prepared exclusively for you. This calling is not about changing your address. It is not about switching jobs. It is about an internal revolution. It is about looking in the mirror and realizing that the person standing there needs to die in certain ways, so that another, more aligned with divine purpose, can finally be born. Have you ever wondered why some nights feel heavier than others? Why certain days begin with an anguish you cannot explain? It may not be weakness. It may be the first sign that something extraordinary is about to begin in your life. When we talk about a divine calling, many people imagine a thundering voice descending from the sky. But reality is quite different. Most of the time, God's calling arrives like a seed that falls on fertile ground without anyone noticing. It germinates in silence, grows in doubt, and only appears when it has already taken roots too deep to be ignored. This calling can manifest as a chronic dissatisfaction with a life that, on paper, should be working perfectly. It can appear as a crisis, a loss, a bankruptcy, a breakup, or simply as the persistent feeling that something greater is waiting for you on the other side of fear. Think of the professional who spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder, accumulating titles and salaries, until one morning he woke up and realized that none of it was feeding his soul. Without any rational explanation, he felt the urge to leave everything behind and dedicate his life to teaching young people in vulnerable communities. Or consider the woman who, after facing the most devastating grief of her life, found within that pain a clarity she had never experienced before. That tragedy did not destroy her. It redirected her. From that point on, every step she took carried a meaning that had not existed before. These are not coincidences. They are signs. They are evidence that when God touches someone, that person's life never goes back to what it was. Answering this calling transforms existence in a way the rational mind cannot anticipate. Doors open where there were only walls. Paths appear where there was only darkness. But there is a detail that many overlook. Understanding your calling does not require a detailed map. It only requires the courage to open your eyes, stop numbing yourself with routine, and look honestly at what exists inside you and around you. Now pay close attention, because the signs that God is preparing a turning point in your life do not arrive with fireworks. They arrive in disguise, and that is why so many people miss them. The first sign is a persistent restlessness. You look at your life, and even though everything appears to be fine, you feel that something is out of place. It is not ingratitude. It is not whim. It is your spirit recognizing that the place where you are has already served its purpose. That cycle has ended, even if your mind has not yet accepted it. The second sign is coincidences that seem too perfect to be random. An unexpected conversation with someone who mentions exactly what you had been thinking about. An opportunity that appears without you having sought it. A book that falls into your hands with the exact message you needed to hear. That is not luck. That is divine orchestration. The third sign is a sudden courage. That moment when, without any logical preparation, you feel an absolute clarity about what needs to be done. As if a curtain had been lifted and for an instant, you could see the entire path laid out before your eyes. Have you ever experienced something like this? Have you ever felt that magnetic pull towards something you cannot even name, but that feels more real than anything you have ever lived? This is not fantasy. This may be your destiny calling. Recognizing these signs is the first step, and perhaps the hardest one, because recognizing means admitting that life as you know it is about to change. And change is frightening, but it is precisely in that fear that the proof of a true calling resides. Here we need to pause and be direct. Not every impulse is a divine calling. Not every desire for change comes from God, and confusing one with the other can cost you dearly. The pursuit of public recognition, for example, is not a calling. When someone acts driven by applause, by fame, by the desire to be seen, they are following their own ego, not the voice of God. The true calling does not seek spotlights, it seeks service. Likewise, the obsession with material accumulation does not reflect divine purpose. God does not summon us to pile up possessions. He summons us to build something meaningful, something that overflows and reaches other lives. When the motivation is simply to get rich, the path may look prosperous on the outside, but on the inside, it remains hollow. And there is an even more delicate point. Behaviors that manipulate, control, or exploit other people are never part of God's plan. The true calling carries within it love, compassion, and deep respect for others. If your journey requires stepping on someone to move forward, you are on the wrong path. It is also essential to let go of feelings that poison the soul. Resentment, bitterness, grudges. These weights do not belong in the luggage of someone being summoned to something greater. Before walking forward, you must release what holds you back. When God says you are about to depart, He is rarely talking about plane tickets or moving boxes. He is talking about a transformation that begins in the most intimate place of your existence and spreads to every area of your life. To depart, in the divine sense, means to break free from patterns that kept you trapped. It means abandoning habits that numbed your pain without ever healing it. It means leaving behind versions of yourself that no longer serve the purpose for which you were created. This change will affect you deeply. It will alter the way you think, the way you relate to others, the way you see your own worth. It is like replacing the foundation of a house while you are still living in it. It is uncomfortable. It is risky. But it is absolutely necessary. And here is a truth that hurts, but needs to be spoken. This journey may require you to walk alone for a while, or with very few people by your side, because not everyone around you has been summoned to the same destination. Some were placed in your life for a season, and that season has come to an end. This is not abandonment, this is alignment. God is reorganizing your circle so that it reflects where you are going, not where you came from. The future God has prepared for you is closer than it seems, but it demands that you shed what is old, that you trust, even without seeing the full path, that you take the first step with trembling feet, but a steady heart. Because when faith moves, God moves with it. There is a common mistake many people make when talking about a divine calling, assuming it always manifests in the same way. But God is a God of variety. He calls each person differently at a specific moment for a singular purpose. Sometimes He calls you to start something new, a ministry, a business, a family, a project that will impact generations. Other times He calls you to stop something, to stop running in the wrong direction, to be still, to listen, and only then to act. There are moments when the calling is to go, to cross oceans, to cross borders, to leave the comfort zone. And there are moments when the calling is to stay, to stand firm where you are, to flourish where you were planted, to be light exactly where the darkness is thickest. Often, God confirms what He is asking through circumstances that align in unusual ways, through words spoken by people who do not even realize the weight of what they are saying, through doors that open or close at the most unexpected moments. If you are unsure about what God is asking, do something simple yet powerful. Ask for clarity. Ask Him to confirm. God is not bothered by your questions. He does not want you to walk in confusion. He wants you to walk with conviction. And when the confirmation comes, and it will come, do not delay. Delayed obedience produces delayed blessings. When He asks for silence, be silent so He can work on your situation. When He asks for action, rise up so He can work in you and through you. Every second of obedience accelerates what God has in store. To understand the depth of this calling, it is worth looking back. 3 stories from Scripture reveal how God operates when He decides to set someone in motion. The first is the story of Moses, a man who spent 40 years being educated in Egypt, another 40 tending flocks in the desert, and the final 40 leading an entire people toward freedom. In each of these phases, God was shaping him. When the fire of a bush that would not burn out caught his attention, Moses did not feel capable. He had difficulty speaking. He did not see himself as a leader. He felt fear. But God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. And Moses became the voice of God for an entire nation. The second story is that of Samuel. Still a child without even knowing the voice of God, he was called. In that era, hearing a direct word from the Lord was something extremely rare. Yet God chose a boy to be the channel of His message. And Samuel's response is an example for all of us. He simply said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." No questioning, no demands, just willingness. The third is the story of Isaiah. His calling came in the middle of a moment of worship, when he was confronted by the greatness of God, and at the same time by his own smallness. He acknowledged his flaws. He felt unworthy. But God purified him and sent him out. God's calling often surpasses what we can understand with our minds, and that is precisely why He asks us not to rely solely on our own logic. God remains active. He continues to open ears and illuminate eyes, but each calling has its own form, its own timing, its own channel. God chooses when, where, and how to reveal Himself. Our part is to keep our attention awake. If you think that accepting God's calling means everything will be easy from here on out, I need to be honest with you. It will not. In fact, some of the greatest challenges of your life may begin right after you decide to obey. The first obstacle is fear, the fear of what you do not know, the fear of failing, the fear of losing what you already have. This fear is real, and there is no point in pretending it does not exist. But there is a difference between feeling fear and being governed by it. Fear can walk beside you, but it cannot sit in the driver's seat. The faith that brought you this far is greater than any uncertainty that tries to paralyze you. The second obstacle is the people around you. Not everyone will understand your decision. Some will doubt. Others will try to convince you to step back, to return to what is familiar, to what is safe. Do not blame them. They speak from the place where they are, not from the place where you are going. Stand firm, but without arrogance. Seek the support of those who understand the spiritual path you are walking. The third obstacle, and perhaps the most treacherous, is internal doubt. That voice that asks, "Who are you to do this?" That feeling that you are not good enough, prepared enough, worthy enough. That voice lies. Remember the times God already sustained you. Remember the battles you already won without understanding how. Those memories are proof that you were not abandoned then and will not be abandoned now. The truth is that accepting a divine calling shakes the entire structure of your life. It puts into question certainties you carried for years. It demands that you rise from the comfortable position of spectator and step onto the field. And yes, that is frightening. But think for a moment about the alternative. Think about living the rest of your days knowing that something extraordinary was reserved for you, and that you did not have the courage to go after it. That pain is infinitely greater than any challenge the path may present. Our desires, our dreams, our deepest aspirations do not exist by chance. They were planted there with a purpose. And if they remain only in the mind, never becoming action, it is like drawing the blueprint of a magnificent house and never laying a single brick. The project exists, but the house does not. After everything that has been said, the question that remains is the simplest and the hardest of all. What truly exists inside you? What is the cause that makes your heart race? What is the subject that, when it comes up, lights something in your eyes that nothing else can? What is the injustice that keeps you awake at night? What is the dream you stopped mentioning out loud because you were afraid people would laugh at you? The answer to your calling is not found in a self-help book. It is not found in other people's opinions. It is in your core, in the place where your soul meets God's plans. Observe what moves you. Pay attention to what troubles you. Notice what already draws you in with a force that cannot be explained, even without effort. When you identify that, the reason for your calling will reveal itself with a clarity that once seemed impossible. And then, finally, it will be time to roll up your sleeves. I want you to stop for a moment and think about everything you have heard so far. Not as someone who listens to a lecture and then forgets, but as someone who receives a message that was written exactly for this moment in their life. Can you see the signs? They are there. In your restlessness, in the coincidences that are not coincidences, in the courage that appears at the most unexpected moments, in the pain that, instead of destroying you, is reshaping you. This is your moment of transformation. The new chapter does not begin tomorrow. It begins now, in the quiet decision to no longer ignore what God has placed in your heart. The journey will not be perfect. There will be stumbles, loneliness, and difficult nights. But there will also be discoveries that will redefine who you are. Purposes that will give meaning to everything you have lived through so far, including what seemed to make no sense at all. With faith as your shield and determination as your fuel, walk. Walk, knowing that every step you take toward your purpose is a step God already prepared before you arrived. You are one of the chosen, and what has been reserved for you is greater than anything your mind has ever been able to imagine. May God strengthen your hands, illuminate your eyes, and sustain every step of this journey. May you live, from this day forward, with purpose, with intensity, and with the unshakable certainty that the best is yet to come. Now, before you leave, I want to ask you something. In the comments, write the word, "I accept." Just that. I accept. This word is a declaration between you and God, that you recognize the calling, and you are willing to walk. It may seem simple, but when you write it, something shifts inside you. The decision leaves the mind and becomes real. And if you want to go further, share in the comments what you are feeling right now. What sign have you already recognized in your life? What do you feel God is asking you to do or leave behind? Your story may be exactly the words someone else needed to hear today. This space is yours. Use it. If this video touched your heart, leave your like. Share it with someone you know needs to hear this. And if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe now. Together, we can carry this message to more people who are waiting for it without even knowing. See you in the next video. And remember, God has already begun to move in your life. The question is whether you will move with Him.